Seems like pretty much every day new details come out in the attack against Nancy Pelosi's husband, Paul Pelosi. Some of these getting into the motivations of the attacker as well as his history, just really shocking stuff. Prosecutors allege that he, David DePape, the attacker, told police that he was on, quote, in his own words, a suicide mission, saying, I'm sick of the insane effing level of lies coming out of Washington, D.C. I came here to have a little chat with his wife. I didn't really want to hurt him, but this was a suicide mission. I'm not gonna stand here and do nothing, even if it cost me my life. Hurting him was not my goal. I told him before I attacked him that he's escalating things and I will go through him if I have to. And that's definitely fair. You break into a guy's house, tell him you're looking for his wife and say to cops that your plan is to shatter her kneecaps. And him not complying is really escalating things. It was uncouth and impolite of Paul Pelosi to have an issue with this guy's suicide mission that he was on. But take a look at that. Like, I'm sick of the lies coming out of Washington, D.C. So he does an attack that inspires, as we'll get into in a little bit, an insane level of lying coming out of D.C. and basically every other part of the country to cover for the attack that he was involved in. He goes on to say to the cops that he had other plans. He had named several targets, quote, including a local professor, several prominent state and federal politicians, and relatives of those state and federal politicians. I have no idea how he planned to take down other politicians after invading the home of Nancy Pelosi with a hammer. That was his plan is absolute madness. But we already know that the guy is crazy. We also found out, by the way, that Paul Pelosi was unconscious in a pool of his own blood for 3 minutes following the hammer attack. That's coming out now. And Halloween just happened. My wife and I, for weeks now, we've been watching horror movies. And what I can't get past is this attack that basically every right winger thinks is either proof of some sort of homosexual plot or something, or at the very least is very funny, would fit almost perfectly into any one of these horror movies that I've been watching. It is as horrifying as anything Hollywood can come up with, that you would wake up in the middle of the night, a crazy person has broken into your house, wielding a hammer and tells you, I'm looking for your wife. And you have to try with everything that you can, as clever as you can be, to stop him from killing you, from possibly leaving, to track down your wife, hurting someone else, all at the risk of your skull being shattered with a hammer. And in the end, you do get hit and you're left clinging to life. And then coming out of it, half of the political spectrum thinks that it's at least cause for jokes. It's funny. Or maybe it's proof that you and your wife are bad. You're the cause of this. You deserve what happened to you. It is really sick stuff, JR.
Yeah, it's sick stuff, and it's what we've been hearing about. None of this stuff we're going, oh man, I just heard about that. There's a reason why you haven't just heard about that. It's because many other people are saying this stuff. I'm glad you brought up the whole thing about he's sick and tired of the lies in Washington, D.C. Because I want to address the fact that everyone, not everyone, but the folks who don't want to admit what this was, from the political motivation of the attacks based off of what certain people are saying, which we can track right to the words coming out of their mouths, to deny all this stuff. That's the tactic now. So who would have told her that Nancy Pelosi is solely responsible for all of the lies of Washington, D.C.? Do you think Democrats told her that? Do you think folks that follow Nancy Pelosi and do her bidding told you that? They do her bidding, why would they tell him that? Who would have told him that? I'll tell you who. The pundits, these overpaid pundits, elected officials, even people that aspire to be elected officials, which some of them will be elected next week into office. They say things like these groomers are going into bathrooms. These people are in support of women's rights because they want to drink the blood of babies so they don't look like they're actually 112 years old. Which people are drinking the bloods of babies and then they actually look 75 years old because all of these old ass politicians are around that age anyway. Which ones would really be 115 years old and are actually 87? I don't know. How about you go ahead and prove that out? One more thing here. They also said things like, hey, all those rioters and those insurrectionists that ran up on the Capitol on January 6th were BLM, Antifa, and political prisoners. They believe all this stuff. But you know who we called the crazy one? The guy who listened to them. Yeah, is it that they know he's crazy, or did they drive him to that? Or is he just listening to what you told him is reality?
I think the comparison you're making is even better than you think it is, maybe, because there's this new thing where like it's an indisputably bad event that looks terrible for your side. So you need something to deflect from it, but it doesn't have to be good. It can be the most pathetic excuse. Like, so as we're gonna get into, why haven't we seen the tape? Well, what does it matter what we've seen the tape? We know who the person is. We know he ended up in the hospital with a hammer wound to the head. Yeah, but I don't know. I haven't seen the tape. Maybe they should have better security. Why didn't they have better security? Isn't that weird? Isn't that the thing that we should think about right now? Why didn't Nancy Pelosi have better security in her house? It's the exact same thing as when they attacked the Capitol. They're trying to kill Mike Pence. They're trying to kill Nancy Pelosi. Why didn't Nancy Pelosi call the National Guard, which she's not in charge of? And she did try to get as much protection as possible on that day. How is that a response to what happened? But it's just a deflection. And it's almost conveniently moronic. Like, it's not like they couldn't come up with something better.
Yeah.
We're talking about thousands of political actors who spend all their time thinking about this. It's almost like they're intentionally coming up with something that is so dumb that it makes the entire thing dumb. Again, they're trying to drag us all down to their level. They don't want politics to be something that is serious and important and maybe sometimes honorable or productive that delivers. No, it's all supposed to be cruel and awful and gross and endlessly stupid. And so we're seeing that here.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.